Just to leave you know that council's in executive session right now, so as soon as they come out, we'll start the meeting. How are you? What the hell is he doing? I had them turned off because I didn't know if they were doing anything with the screen.
I like how you ease in there, Sandra.
Oh, I turned. All the microphones are on.
Your mic's on, Sandy. Just so you know. It's already on.
Okay.
Yes, whatever you want.
Call the stated session of City Council to order. Please rise for the invocation, followed by the pledge of the flag. As we gather here this evening, let us be mindful of the needs of our residents. Give us the wisdom and vision to make our city a better place for all people, inclusive of everyone. No one should be left out. And as I look in the audience and see Mrs. Betty Hawk here, let us be mindful of her husband who passed, we will be honoring this evening. Richard was our city electrician for many years and a good man. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Brown?
Here.
Mr. Ettinger?
Here.
Mr. Milan?
Here.
Mr. O'Connell?
Here.
Dr. Ruggles?
Here.
Mrs. Volcano?
Here.
Mayor Panto?
Here. Approval of the agenda?
Move to approve. Second.
Moved in second. Any additions, deletions? Roll call.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Mr. Milan?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Volcano?
Aye.
Mayor Panto?
Aye. Can we have an action on our minutes of September 25th and also October 1st, the budget session?
So move.
Second.
Moved in second. Any additions, deletions, or corrections? Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Mr. Milan?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Volcano?
Aye.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Okay, on to our resolution.
Okay, we have a resolution being introduced by Roger Ruggles, co-sponsored by Kenneth Brown, James Ettinger, David O'Connell, Peter Milan, Sandra Volcano, and Salvatore J. Panto, Jr. Resolved by the Council of the City of Easton, Pennsylvania, that it was with a feeling of deep sorrow that we learned of the death of Richard A. Hawk on September the 18th, 2019. Mr. Hawk served honorably in the United States Navy during the Korean War. Mr. Hawk served the city and its citizens as a member of the Public Works Department in the Electrical Bureau, retiring as supervisor after 28 years of service. Mr. Hawk was a dedicated, faithful city employee and citizen. He performed his duties in an excellent and professional manner and was held in the highest esteem and affection by both friends and colleagues. We join in expressing our deepest sympathy and condolences to his family in this, the time of their bereavement.
So move.
Second.
Moved in second. Let's have roll call first, and we'll have discussion.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
Mrs. Volcano?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Mr. Milan?
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
and Mr. Brown.
Aye.
Would a representative of the Hawk family please come forward to accept the frame resolution?
Oh, yes, yes, yes. Always liked him. Good man. You were a good employee too. You liked him? That's fine. Good guy. You were a good employee as well. Glad you still here. 26.
It's not good. Paper, by the way, it's not true. As Kurt Bresswan's in the audience. I just talked about you. Can you hear it? Sorry. You just heard your name now? All right.
Pass that like that. Ordinance.
Oh, yeah.
Black Diamond.
Just came from one of my teachers' viewings. He was one of my what I taught with. Okay. Sandy, would you like to say anything?
Betty, as I said, I will miss Dick. I was quite surprised to read in the newspaper that he had passed. I knew he had some health problems, but he was always such a special person. Every time at the polls, I would see him at least twice a year down there to vote. So I'm very sorry for your loss.
I too echo my colleagues' condolences to you and your family.
All the good ones are gone.
Go ahead, Ken.
I echo my colleagues at this time of your bereavement. I pray that you're comforted to know that his service was not served in vain here. He was well liked and well loved, and thank you very much for allowing him to be of service to the city of Easton.
Yeah, I did not know him, but I do offer my condolences to you and your family.
Jim? Councilman Ettinger?
I also didn't know him, but I'm sorry for your loss.
Dave, anything?
I'm very sorry for your loss, and I'd like to thank you for your husband's service to the city. Thank you.
And I'll just echo my colleagues and my condolences to you and your rest of your family.
And Betty, I would just like to say again that I enjoyed my 8 years of working with Richard as the city electrician, and you and he are missed in City Hall. We had a really good group up there on 650 Ferry Street before we moved to the Alpha Building and into here. But I really appreciate your efforts and your services and coming to this evening to allow us to honor Richard. Moving on, we're going to have a presentation by the two young ladies from the State Theater on an update on the theater and the fact that next year they're having 352 shows.
Wish.
You'll never get home, Shelley.
Well, I will
No.
tell you,
Our condolences as well, Mrs. Hawk. Denise and I give you our
I
condolences.
will, before you begin, I just want to tell you, beautiful was wonderful.
Wasn't it?
Yes, and the mayor and council was so good that evening. I got out to see the show right on time.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
And we hear elf on the shelf is all my grandchildren are going to that. Pam just
boy.
got the tickets, so hopefully that's good too.
We have to hold up our reputation. Yeah, these shows are
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're
I'm
welcome.
still
It was
singing.
just-
I
it
still
was
have the
fabulous.
songs in my head. Well, we got such a warm reception last time we were here. We are back as promised
Okay, excuse me.
to give, we're show people.
name
Is that
Name
a
and
prelude to get another warm reception?
We know we go where we're wanted and we get a good reception. So thank you so
We
much.
know who you are, but we need for the record your name and address.
Oh, Shelley Brown, the State Theater
That's fine.
address, 453 Northampton Street, the State Theater Center for the Arts in beautiful historic Easton, Pennsylvania. The coolest city going now.
Absolutely.
I wanted to, I'm sure you all saw this or got this, and we have them for you, of course. You may notice something, you may not, but you may notice that this is actually, or I will tell you, this is the first program. I have good news. Well, good news and not bad news. It's the best of times and the strangest of times. Let's put it that way. This is the first program we have put out since forever, as long as I've been at the theater, that didn't have any headliner names in it. The headliners being those super recognizable acts that you don't have to ask a question of who they are. We are hopefully adding some names, but as we go to press, this is the first time that's ever happened. And that's the way we planned it. That's the good news. When we were facing what I told you last time and what I tell everyone about the challenges facing the State Theater, when we knew what we were facing several years ago, which was that we were going to lose the headliner acts because we couldn't get into the same kind of bidding territory that some of the venues in the Lehigh Valley have, we decided to change the course, turn the ship, find what we did best, and concentrate on a future in that direction, with the hopes that we'll have the occasional headliners, which we will. But we went from a program where it was all big names to having to figure out what's the future going to be. And we were told when we were trying to problem solve this 7 or 8 years ago, I finally said to someone who was telling us of their experience at their theater in their town when the challenges happened. And I said, well, what are we supposed to do? How do we go on? And the woman said to me, she said, if your theater's all about just what's on your stage, you won't survive. But if your community wants a theater, you'll come up with a plan. Our community clearly wants a theater. Our city wants a theater, and we're grateful for that. So what we are doing is doing what we do best, which is Broadway. We are the best facility for Broadway in the entire region. We have this fabulous steel grid. It's not moon dust and showbiz. It's about our steel grid. About now we have this fabulous elevator from the roof of the best market that we can load shows in down an elevator. It used to be the worst theater anywhere to load into, going from the alley in the back. And now we have the elevator on the ceiling. We've made more wing space. It's accessible. It's strong. The facility itself is amazing. And I don't think it's ever been better. It's an old place, so there's always a to-do list. There's a honey-do list way longer than anybody has at home, but the facility's in great shape. And the crews that come, beautiful, and Jersey Boys are a company we have not dealt with before. Well, we haven't dealt with them before. It was their first time at the State Theater, and they were blown away by the facility, by how embraced the shows were. So this is all good stuff. But the building's great. I will tell you what it's like, if I can just take a second to tell you what the ups and downs are like in a building like our theater. Our beautiful marquee, which now has the digital insert. I know we talked about it when it was contemplated. It's coming up on its 10-year anniversary. I know, I can't. Now, if you're like I am and you have a cell phone and it says there's an upgrade and you figure I'll just keep using it until it makes me do the upgrade, there's an upgrade that's due in 10 years, which I had forgotten all about. We were reminded dramatically last week, if you drove by and half of it was out, that it's time. It's been 10 years almost to the moment. That's going to cost $3,000. So now that's another thing to add to the list. But it's amazing because we don't have stagehands up on ladders trying to put letters in to make words and letters that don't fit marquees anymore. So it has made our lives immensely easier. You can do it from a computer. So that's all good news. I don't know if any of you saw this summer, there was a lot of work being done, masonry work on 5th Street. Of course, inside the building, there's always something going on inside the building. In the back, the wall that you didn't see between our building and the building next door, the inside wall, there's about $24,000 worth of masonry work was done this summer. We have walls bulging, and we're all familiar with that. We replaced ice machines, plumbing-ish. The plumbing it's not what it was a long time ago because we have all these new bathrooms, but the plumbing is always, something's always going wrong. Constant upgrading, constant maintenance. Much of it is invisible, but it's essential to the facility. We had a donor that helped us upgrade our bar, which has become much more of a revenue source for us. Also, our kitchen. We do a lot of rentals, meetings, weddings, parties, business meetings, and so all these things that involve catering and restrooms and keeping everything perfect. There's so much that goes on that isn't in this schedule that you don't even necessarily know about. There were 3 things this past weekend. There was a concert called Stage on Stage, on our stage, a smaller show on Friday night. Saturday was the Children's Home's wine auction. Part of their wine auction is they use the theater for that. And then Sunday was another Stage on Stage concert, which was a rental. So it was busy and lit up all weekend. And so these parties, these community events are very important to us. As you well know, we have now bathrooms off the gallery in the Best Market building so that can be a standalone. You closed the gap on that with $11,000, and boy, do we use that facility. I mean, I wish it were more exciting, but bathrooms are huge, and I know you know that. So I guess I just wanted to bring you up to speed and tell you that ticket sales are robust. Obviously, some shows are faster than others. Jersey Boys and Beautiful sold out pretty much the first day of public sales. I mean, then we went on sale to the public with a handful of seats. They're extraordinary shows, and they're expensive to put on. But if you've been to Broadway lately, it's nothing compared to what Broadway shows cost now, even at the half-price ticket window. And not that New York isn't great, but you can park here inexpensively, have a beautiful dinner, see a top-notch show, and be home in your jammies by 11:30, saying, wow, Easton is on fire. Easton is a great place to go. So I just wanted to bring you up to speed, tell you the plan. We're always hopeful. We have a second brochure coming out. We're starting the roller coaster of the season, the thrill ride, piano guys, beautiful, and then we'll have some, but hopefully by the end, which is the incredible Freddie Awards, we'll finish in the black, hopefully. And we have dates on the books for wonderful shows held already into 21, because we have to be that far ahead on the Broadway tours especially. So this is the new State Theater, the new old State Theater, and we will be having a few of our favorite headliners who will return, but just not in time for publication. But it's a new world. You got to change. You got to adapt.
92nd year?
93rd.
93rd.
And so
You and I don't look a day over 50.
I know it's pretty the spackle though, But anyway, and so I would just say thank you for everything. I would be remiss. I said to Denise, I'm just going to say if you find yourself with $3,000 floating around for that marquee, we'd be happy to accept it. But I'm not here to officially ask for anything. But when we were talking this morning, we just thought, oh man, 10 years to the day this thing goes on the blink. So hopefully half a name will sell some of the shows. So anyway, did you have any questions for me?
I don't have a question. I just wanted to say that I think even most of my contemporaries here on council don't even know this, but when I moved to Easton in 1989, my first job here was under Colin Bissett as the tech director at the State Theater. And I was at the theater from 1989 to 1992, and the marquee was all hand lettering. There was nothing digital about it.
No,
And I just loved being connected with it because I just loved doing working on all of those shows, and we did all our load-ins from the back, from Church Street in the back.
you remember.
Yeah. Oh, I
Dreadful.
certainly remember.
Dreadful.
And also, one of the things I remember, you were talking about plumbing. Colin Bissett always required me to wear a tuxedo for the shows, and one of my most outstanding memories is standing on top of one of the toilets in the men's room or the women's room with a plunger in my tuxedo and trying to eliminate the clogs so that people could use it.
That's
But-
going to embellish in my brain tonight.
Oh,
Hey,
yeah.
it was
that's
over
when they
20
go
years
all
ago, and it's
touch
embellished in
this.
my brain. But I just love doing it. I was there for the rehabilitation in 1990, 91, and it's just a great old place.
It sure is.
With all of the.
You'll have to come backstage. Call sometime and come up and see,
Oh, I will. I
see the
certainly
improvements.
will.
You will really be impressed.
Oh, I'm sure it's a lot different
I
now,
plunged
but,
the toilet
it was,
or two in evening gloves as well.
It was a
mean,
great
it's-
experience. It was a lot of hard work, but it was, and working for Colin was certainly not easy, but it was a great experience. I love doing it.
I was with the TV station back
Right,
then,
I remember,
and I would
yeah.
come over and do things and
Mhm.
co-host. And
Yeah, I
we were
remember.
doing a live TV
talent
show
of
one
this-
night, and we were co-hosting it.
Yeah.
And I turned around, and he was gone, and I said, "Where's Colin?"
Yeah.
He said, "Oh, he's up the street having a drink." I mean,
Yeah.
we were live on
Yeah.
television.
Yep.
Don't print
That was
that.
Colin.
Sure was. But thank you, and thank your staff for doing just a
Right here is, I have to say, this
wonderful
is the
job.
Energizer Bunny and the person who finds sponsors for all of our shows and keeps the development end of things running. Denise is amazing. You all know her.
She told me if I come down on October 31st, I'll see Fred.
You never know when you're going to see Fred. Did you see Fred?
I heard him a lot. I never did see
Yeah.
him, but I heard him frequently.
Yeah. So that's great, David. Thank you.
Sure.
Thanks for all you do,
Thank
Shelley.
you, Shelley.
Thank you.
Denise?
Your microphone, please, sir.
Are you increasing, is the State Theater increasing the number of nights that you're going to have activity?
We don't plan the number of nights. I mean, if there's a show, it's not really very scientific. If we believe with our own metrics internally that a show would do well for us, we will schedule it.
Okay.
If we don't say we're going to put out 150 shows.
Okay.
They have to work. I mean, in the old days, we would take more risks, but today, and I would add, by the way, I don't know if I mentioned this before. There's 25 venues now in the area. 25. There were 3 when I came, and so we try to find shows that we believe will be financially successful for us and that has an audience, and then we are actively pursuing rentals, promoters that want to come and do a show, maybe something that we don't want to take the risk on, and then of course all the parties, functions. So we just keep adding.
So, well,
Hopefully
there's no doubt that the theater has an impact on the city, and I just anecdotally I could see it from a budget perspective. We can measure the ticket sales, but I guess my do you expect to increase the activity year over year?
We hope to.
Okay.
We hope to.
Okay, that's good. I mean, I think that's excellent. I mean, I agree with everything that everyone's saying up there. I think it's a diamond for the city.
I'm getting.
Well, Denise Smith, also from the State Theater, Vice President of Development. Just to, if you don't mind, just to add to what you say, a lot of people kind of think of our activity in terms of what is in our program, as you would expect people would. But the reality is a lot more happens at the theater than what the public sees. Like, for example, you mentioned Elf on a Shelf. What the public wouldn't know is that Elf on a Shelf is their production crew. They're coming a week before. 9 days before and teching the show at the theater. And so that's something that, you know, we have an arrangement with them to do that. So that's 9 days of activity or 8 days of activity that the public wouldn't know about. But from our perspective, it's really nice to be known as such a quality venue within our industry that they want to tech the show at the theater.
We're doing more of that. No, don't
Yeah.
go away. We're doing more of that. We've always done it quietly. I mean, the
And
Moody
Brian
Blues
Wilson launched his whole concert
he
series
did,
there.
and the Moody's teched over
The Moody's, right, yes.
Thanksgiving one time. We don't publicize it. We're not really supposed to with some of them. This one's okay. But what that also means is people working, eating, staying for 9 days, entire crew taking a show. But those aren't things that are, the building's busy. In a perfect world, it would be, you know, the lights would be lit every night. But then again,
I guess
there's 14 of us.
in a simpler question, then, is revenue increasing year over year when you look at your budget?
It's really tough. We are not, and like, we can't measure our year apples to apples, like every other job I had and before I joined the theater, because the makeup of our shows, we could have 80 shows last year and 80 shows this year, but the fees on last year's shows were $3 million, and this year 80 shows is $4 million, because it's a different set of shows and the fee structure is different and the guarantees are different. It's very different.
Sometimes slightly fewer that are more successful are better for us. I'll give you an example. I mean, just a very brief example of how impossible it is to project. Last year, the Cat Country is wonderful with us, and they do a fundraiser for us in well, this year it's going to be earlier, but last year it was in December, I believe, or late November. It was November, and it was sold out. All of it, all the money coming to us. And literally, it was set up, show was set up, ready to go, and it was that freaky sleet storm, ice storm, that hit right around 5 o'clock. And all the artists that Cat had gotten for this show were on, they made it into Philadelphia, but they were on the side of the road on the Schuylkill, couldn't get to the theater. So there you go. We had the entire show sold out, all the revenue to us, and it all went back to the ticket buyers, who were, of course, totally disappointed. And at least people really understood the reason. Sometimes
I think it's also important,
So-
that since we're live streamed, that the public understands the dilemma of not only do you have many new venues, I know I experience what you experience all the time about the market. Our market always goes all the way out to Reading, which I don't think it is. But now it also goes up to Jim Thorpe. The Moose, the Mayor's Office of Special Events, we tried to book a tribute band that was the Authority, Chicago. It's a tribute band in Chicago. They wouldn't book us because they booked this year in Jim Thorpe, which I don't even, Jim Thorpe.
that's the 25th.
Yeah.
And the other thing, you know, with the internet now, we used to have these really considerate relationships like that. I mean, that may have been a problem for you, but it was helpful for the venue
Sure.
who
Yeah, Monchunk,
had it somewhere
Opera
else.
House.
But with the internet now, neighborhoods aren't necessarily, your market isn't necessarily just geographic. People come in from out of town, stay overnight, you know, and so it's a whole different ballgame than it used to be. And the artists, because the record companies are not supporting these tours, it's far more about every nickel, to be blunt. So and we are toe to toe with any nonprofit venue who's booking.
Yep.
So it's a different game than it used to be, and so making money, we just hold on for the ride, hope the weather cooperates, and a lot of other things.
My question was just simply for activity in the city, because when the theater has an event,
Your microphone, sir,
when the
please.
theater has an event, there's an indirect impact, economic impact on.
We want that as
Yeah.
much as you do.
So that's the point for my
Yeah.
questions. Thank you.
So if I can just maybe round that out with one more small thing, something else that we're doing, because we've been kind of working our way through a strategic plan over the last 3 years in light of a changing and more competitive marketplace. And one of the things that we've been trying to do is use the theater's different spaces, whether that be the gallery, the ballroom, the main stage, the different spaces, for private events and other types of, we're averaging probably 20 to 25 of those now each year, if that kind of quantifies something for you, for weddings and, 75th birthday parties and just all sorts of things. We have neat spaces for that. So those are ways in which the theater is getting used and may have less of a direct impact on than a show night, but have impact because people are coming in and they're parking and they're discovering the city and all the charm that it has to offer. So that's another piece of it. And just from the fundraiser's perspective, I know Sal knows this, the rest of you may or may not, but we're somewhat typical in the world of nonprofit theater. Only about 65% of your expenses are covered by ticket revenue. And the other 1/3, 35, sometimes 40% has to be your community supporting you with sponsorship and membership and private donations and public grants and all that kind of stuff. And that's actually in a good scenario. Our scenarios just become more complicated because of the competitive situation. So we're working to do more things like that and just make ourselves viable and open ourselves up to new markets, young professionals we just actually had a conversation about today. So we're looking in light of a changing environment of how we can, for the next 93 years, be viable and bringing, people down to this beautiful city. Because like we say, we're simply the best of the State Theater, and that's in large part because we're in the simply the best city.
Yeah, and I just wanted to tell you one last thing, and then I promise I'm finished. The Freddie Awards. The students, this will be year 18 for the Freddies. So the oldest ones are, from the early years, are getting married at the theater. They have a great connection to us. And these kids that come, the opening and closing number kids, there are about 125 of them. Each school sends 4.
Fantastic.
They're coming to Easton. Now, the Easton High School kids understand, but you've got, all these schools, and a lot of these kids have never been to Easton before. Their parents haven't been to Easton before.
No, they haven't.
They haven't.
And you cross the bridge too.
Yeah.
They haven't.
Yeah,
because-
Warren County. So there's 30 high schools.
Yeah.
And, people who say they go all over the Lehigh Valley don't necessarily do that. But so they're coming, the kids are coming, they're walking around, and they have this bond with this wonderful event in their high school life. And of course, the TV presence of the Freddies, shows what's going on at the Freddie Awards. It's tremendous for the city. It's tremendous for all of us. But what's really, really important is that these are the kids who are going to grow up and be the Valley's citizens, the people, and they'll have a connection to Easton that a lot of other people don't have. And so it's just wonderful to see these kids growing up and with such affection for the city and for the theater. So just
Absolutely.
thank you.
And then just my closing thing, if I may, I'll approach. I just have a little bit of a leave behind for each of you. It's got, actually, I write a Freddie Community Impact Award about the program every year, so it's in here for 2019. Our schedule's in there, just in case you don't have a copy of it. And also note, please, in the front that we were recognized by Polestar this year, and I made a copy of the photo for you that's in our lobby. One of the top 200 theater venues worldwide, not nationwide, but worldwide. And we're very honored by that. And again, it's we're glad to be in the city of Easton doing it. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Denise.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Denise. Thank you, Shelley. Thanks for coming down. Thanks for the nice words you had to say about the theater and the city. Moving on now to public comment on agenda items only. Anyone in the audience would like to address City Council on the agenda items? If not, there's a time at the end of this meeting. Consent agenda, Mr. Clerk.
Okay, we have bill number 29, which was introduced, and it's amending the 2019 Highway Aid Liquid Fuels budget. Bill 30, which was amending the 2019 Recreation Fund budget. And Bill 31, which is approving an agreement with Stort Silk Mill Redevelopment Partners, a.k.a. Black Diamond.
I'll move the consent agenda.
Second.
Moved in second discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Brown.
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger.
Aye.
Mr. Milan.
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell.
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles.
Aye.
Mrs. Volcano.
Aye.
Mayor Panto.
Aye. There's no reports to be received by council. We'll move right on to committee reports. Councilman Brown, Finance Committee.
No report, Mayor.
Economic Development Committee, Councilman Volcano.
No report, Mayor.
Planning and Codes, Councilman O'Connell.
No report, Mayor.
Councilman Land, Public Safety.
Nothing, Mayor.
Public Works, Dr. Ruggles.
I just wanted to report on the PML Summit, and I just have a little handout here for people to review. Several things I think at that summit are really important for us. And the first one is the National League of Cities Service Line Warranty. I think this is a no-brainer, what it does is it allows, or it provides utility service for people. It's kind of like an insurance policy for their their sewer and water lines, it's totally voluntary for people. One of the big benefits out of this is that the company that administers it sends out direct mail to the residents and informs them that that line is their responsibility. And a lot of people don't recognize that. But I show you what the monthly rates are there that they charge. They do both interior and exterior lines. And, you know, in our city, there's a lot of old pipes out there that people are going to have break fairly, without much time going by. They also do in-home water and sewer, so it's both. And all the work is done. They contract with local contractors, and so if somebody has an emergency, they just call the number and they make arrangements for that work to be done. So they really don't have to do anything. And on top of that, every contract that's written, the city gets 50 cents per month as a result of that contract. So I would like to bring up a resolution in our next meeting saying that we would like to pursue this. You guys can take a look at that. Another thing that I saw there was something called FirstNet, and what that is it gives priority calls to first responders. And so if there's an emergency in the city, cell phone traffic just all of a sudden becomes enormous, and so calls can get dropped. And so first responders with just a normal telephone could have their phone, have a call that they are supposed to get dropped off of that cell phone. This program, or this network, basically gives them top priority, so they don't get dropped. They get total priority on the lines. And I'm not sure what our current rate is for cell phones, but they charge $39.99 a month, and that's unlimited everything. So something we may want to take a look at.
You know
But
how
that's
many
just
phones we're
for-
talking about?
I'm sorry?
You know how many phones we're talking about?
I don't know what, I haven't talked to either of the chiefs yet on this, but it seems like there should be,
We're over 100.
yeah, there should be some number that's out there that at least have this capability. And again, I don't know what that would be, but just yeah. I was talking actually to Bruce Ferretti up at Lafayette about this, and he says, yeah, we had this problem at Lafayette during Sandy. He said that just we had drop calls, we couldn't contact our emergency people, and it's typically emergency issues, but something that we may want to think about. Allentown does a tremendous job with feeding kids in the summertime. This is a federal program. It's reimbursed by federal dollars. They actually have gotten the hospitals to prepare the foods, and then they distribute them at schools. They also distributed them at their pools and at one of their fire stations. So this is for summertime when kids aren't in school and getting the normal meal that is provided at school, gives them a meal. They are having what they call a convening on November 7th from 10 to 2 that addresses what they've been doing with this and kind of gives a insight on how to approach government entities to get the funding for this.
Is that it, Dr. Ruggles? Is that a? You
Excuse
provided
me, sir, your microphone,
You
please.
provided that information to me, so we'll take a look.
That they actually had a presentation. City of Allentown had a presentation at the conference. There was one city council person there, and then one person who was
Tina
in charge
Amato.
of the program.
Tina Amato.
Oh, excuse me. I thought you said November 2nd.
November 7th.
November 7th, they're having a, okay,
They're having from
Okay.
2 to or 10 to 2.
okay.
It's through the
And-
Department of Health. They have a certified state health department.
That's what my money's going to this.
The last one that I attended was on communication, and I thought last night was pretty appropriate that we had that thing on IT. They said that by 2001, they project that 82% of customer internet traffic is going to be video. And, you know, we're talking about the ring that we're be putting in, I mean, that's proposed. You know, that is a much better way of carrying all of that load. And so, just, you know, that and the other thing that I saw there was, I thought was a great idea was, they suggested having short public service clips that are available either on your website or on social media that address various things. And they could be everything from a mayor welcoming visitors to the town and that to just updates on what's going on around town. And so people could just take a look at those through a video versus having to read something, because just is a better way of communicating that information. So
We have, through the National League of Cities, on our website, we have, I think, 6 short videos. One is a welcome, one is about education, one is about housing, one is about tourism attractions. And it's done by a company for free through the National League of Cities also, called CGI, and they're getting ready to update our videos now into high def. They'll be coming in probably sometime in the next 90 days to do that. And they go out and they get the sponsors.
Oh, okay.
They have sponsors. If you look on our website, you'll see like educate, and then there's businesses that help supply that. And the National League of Cities water utility warranty service, Ashley called me today.
Oh, did they?
Because Dennis was supposed to follow up with us and he didn't. So Ashley called today after talking to you. She saw me down in Gettysburg. She's definitely going to make contact with us. So, anything else, Dr. Ruggles?
That's all I have.
Administration Committee, Mr. Councilman Ettinger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Administration Committee met last night to discuss IT, things such as the new website that's going to be rolled out shortly, and several other things. The only other thing I have is this morning we met with, there was a meeting about the census, the upcoming census, and the efforts that we're attempting to make to assure that we don't get undercounted. And I think it's very important. There were some things that I learned there from the meeting today, like the grants that we would be eligible for if we're properly counted and found to be over 30,000. So it's really worth the effort, any effort that we make to make sure that that happens.
Thank you, Mr. Councilman Ettinger. Mr. Solicitor, Mr. Murphy?
Thank you, Mayor. Prior to this public meeting, council did meet in executive session, and the topic was real estate acquisition. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. Report of the mayor. I have no report other than to set our budget hearings. There has been a request to change Tuesday's hearing to Wednesday.
Which one is that?
15th and 16th instead of 15th. I gotta check my calendar. Let me look.
So to do it during, after the council meeting? Well, that's not a council meeting.
There's no council meeting that week.
No.
At Wednesday. That's a
I-
late night for me, but-
I have major conflicts that night with the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission Gala, the awards gala at the sales. And then we have the vigil with Turning Point and Third Street Alliance in Center Square at 6:30. I guess we could do it probably at 7. I mean, I don't have to be here for the first part of it. It's my budget. I already know what's in it. You two can handle it. You want to start it at 6. I won't be back from the sales by then. I don't know if anyone else is going to the sales award, the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission Awards Gala. I don't think I don't think we have any nominations for city this year. We'll have a boatload next year with all the development going on. I don't think we have any this year.
So is that a change for the advertisement?
Everybody willing to do 17th instead of 16th?
The 16th.
No, wait a minute. The
16th
16th instead of the
15th.
Instead of
15th.
15th, I'm sorry.
We'll just have to switch things around.
Seeing none, we'll just change it
6
to the
o'clock?
16th at 6 o'clock.
Okay, I'll advertise it.
Mayor, we'll work with you on putting the schedule on which departments are gonna go first.
Sure. Okay.
Okay, you were thinking of possibly doing a 185 meeting that night. Guess
185 meeting is Thursday night,
you're gonna do it Thursday,
17th.
17th? I don't know if I can make that. What time, 6 o'clock
6,
or 7?
7 o'clock.
You do 7, I can do it.
It is 7 o'clock,
Unless I get stranded up at the
because everybody
casino.
works. If you're
I'll
winning,
take
you
me
won't
on
come
with the
back.
seniors.
Oh, okay.
We'll be
All right, that's all I have. There's no correspondence, there's no unfinished business. Moving on to new business, Mr. Clerk.
Okay, we have a resolution being introduced by Roger Ruggles. Resolved, the Council of the City of Easton, Pennsylvania has reviewed and approves a grant agreement, copy attached here too, between the City of Easton and the County of Northampton Department of Community and Economic Development in the amount of $50,000 for the construction of a pedestrian bridge over the Bushkill Creek. Be it further resolved that council authorizes the mayor and city controller to sign said agreement on behalf of the city and the city clerk to attest the same.
So move.
Second.
Move the second discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Milan?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Volcano?
Aye.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
This time we have public comment from anyone in the audience about anything, concerns, comments, questions about the city of Easton. Anyone like to come forward? Anything from council members? Seeing none, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Moved in second. Roll call.
Mr. Milan?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Volcano?
Aye.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.